very early in the morning. Well, I say very early in the morning, it's just, it is still dark, so I'm not sure how good this footage is going to look on here. What I'm really excited about today, I am actually finally, something that I've always just wanted to do to the car is to see what power it's producing. Now, I'm not massively bothered about the actual figure. I'm not like one of these people who will boast or, you know, be happy or let down by the figure, because personally I really do like how the car drives. The power delivery and everything is perfectly fine for me. But I just think it would be interesting, you know, to actually get a baseline figure before I look to do any mods, because if you've been following my channel, I do want to do a full exhaust on this car. So it'd be cool to get a sort of baseline figure now. Once the car has had the exhaust fitted, you know, and it's embedded in, then maybe I can do another power run and see what difference it's made. So I'm going to this place in my main hometown called TopGear, funnily enough, great name. But yeah, TopGear in Stockport, they specialise in exhausts, but they actually have a rolling road there. So you can pay to have 3 power runs for 50 quid. So that's what I've gone for. So yeah, I'm on the way there. Hopefully I get there on time. So let's see what happens. Right everyone, we are back from TopGear. So the car has now been tested, I've got the results. Before I do go into the results, just to give you an idea, I did give a general idea of anywhere from low sort of 140s to high 150s. That's kind of where I thought it'd be. I basically thought the car is going to be very much the standard horsepower. Couple of reasons. I mean, I thought, you know, the car obviously is a 2006 model. It's now 2022. So what does that make it? That makes it 16 years old. You know, it's a 16-year-old car, and it has been pretty well looked after. So I didn't think it would be, you know, crazy low or anything. And the car didn't feel like it would be low. But then it does also have the cone filter. So, you know, that could have added 5 horsepower, let's say. But then the car might have lost some. But going on to Instagram, for those of you, by the way, who did sort of give a figure on Instagram, really appreciate that. I had a fantastic response. I had loads and loads. I had some funny ones, really low. One was, I've got it here, one was 53 from FF040RD. And also Milo as well, hilarious, with a good old 69. Now, don't know if you've been a bit of an innuendo there. But yeah, it wasn't that low. And then I had some that were quite high, like close to 160. I did have one at 160, which was Infinite_Mark6. That was an ambitious figure, seeing as the car is basically standard and obviously a little bit old now. But you were all in the kind of right ballpark figure, from anywhere between sort of, you know, 140s to sort of low 150s. So you were all very much had a sort of good knowledge and understanding of what this car probably had. So going on to the graph, which I will pop up. So I'm pleased to say actually the car performed pretty well. So it was 145 horsepower, pretty decent. That's kind of where I thought it would be. You know, I didn't think it would be any higher than 150. Interestingly, now let me know in the comments below what you think of this. The guy that was testing it actually said certain tyres can gain or reduce the amount of horsepower, the figure that you get on a rolling road. And he was saying the tyres that I've got on this might have actually lost between 4 and 5 horsepower. So he did say you probably are in the high 140s. You know, you probably are 148 to 150 if I had different tyres. Supposedly, cheaper, more budget tyres actually give slightly better readings on these rolling roads than high performance or more grippier tyres. So I do feel like even though I came out with a reading of 145, I'm probably going to say it could well be 148 horsepower, basically what it was as standard, which is actually a really good baseline figure, because, as I've mentioned, my theory is that obviously the car is now 16 years old, but it does have a cone filter, but, you know, like, whoop-de-doo, it's a cone filter. You know, yes, I know that the air is restricted on the standard one, but realistically, you're probably only going to get about 5 horsepower from just a cone filter on its own. But then the car might have lost 5 horsepower in 16 years. That's a really good, I think, figure to see. The torque, I mean, it's good to have a torque figure here. It says 184 Newton meters, which I don't think is very much in foot-pounds. But, you know, these cars aren't torquey engines. They are more horsepower. But hopefully with mods that I'm going to do, I'm sort of looking at future plans. I'm not one of these who's bothered about saying I've got an ST200, I've got 200 horsepower. That doesn't bother me because, in all honesty, if you're going to be going for that sort of figure, you're going to need to start track daying your car or something like that. You know, I'm not doing that, so having that, you know, doesn't bother me boasting about having 200 horsepower or trying to aim for 200. I don't want that. What I am actually aiming for is to see those Newton meters or foot-pounds increase with my mods. I'm not really bothered about the horsepower. I want to see more torque. Now, I know I'm not going to get loads of torque out of this car, but at the end of the day, more torque, it's more usable power than horsepower. So obviously, you know, I've got the Miltech manifold, if you've seen that. Supposedly that does add a bit more torque. I will do a full exhaust as I mean I can afford to and fit that at the same time. My plan will be to probably get the car back on the rolling road. After a while, let the ECU adapt. Having a full exhaust, it'd be interesting to see what the difference is with the horsepower and torque. Then after that, I really do want to do an inlet manifold. Now, I've never done one on one of these cars. I would really like to, and my aim would be, but it probably wouldn't be till next year because they're so expensive, is the Fusion Fabrications inlet. Because that one doesn't focus on horsepower, that actually focuses on, and it's been tried, tested, proven by owners on a lot of the forums, they say it does help with torque and they sound really good. So that's the thing. Now, a lot of people want the look and the name of saying they've got a Cosworth inlet manifold, or, you know, they get the replica ones. That's all well and good, and don't get me wrong, they look awesome, and they will more than likely get you to the 200 horsepower mark if you accompany that with the cams as well. But that also brings me on to, I don't really want to do cams, because I did that on my previous ST, and yes, I got good horsepower, got 190 horsepower, you know, the only thing left to do on that was an inlet manifold, which probably would have got it up towards that 200. But going with these cams is obviously, it raises the revs of the engine. And when I had that car and, you know, I wasn't track daying it, I wasn't redlining it all the time, using all that horsepower, I found that my fuel consumption just went really down. Like, it went at least 5 miles per gallon less. And this car isn't for track daying, it's for sort of, you know, country drives, just enjoying the car. It will also be used at the moment anyway, sort of going to and from to work. So I don't want to sacrifice having loads of horsepower, higher revving, you know, than actually having a bit more usable power. So keeping the revs a little bit lower by not having the cams, but at the same time having a better exhaust and a better inlet manifold. And then obviously, finally, to accompany that is I really want, obviously, a custom or some sort of remap. Because then I think my aim will probably be looking at that figure, and I don't think it's unrealistic, after having a full exhaust, the inlet manifold either from Fusion Fabrications or another one that someone might well be developing for better torque, and then a remap. You know, I'm probably going to be looking at least somewhere in the 170s. It may touch high 170s, 180 horsepower, but it'll be the torque that will be interesting, because I think I've seen people reach like 170 odd foot-pounds, which is quite a lot in these cars, using the Fusion Fabrications inlet manifold. And I've seen figures with the Cosworth, yes, it gets 200 horsepower, but only gets like 150 something foot-pounds. So you've lost about 20 foot-pounds of torque there, and you've gained in horsepower. I want that torque, I don't want the horsepower. But what's really nice to see with the graph is how smooth that power curve is. It is really smooth, it's such a nice linear line. So that's really good to see. The car does feel that that is how it drives. I don't feel any flat spots. There is a slight dip in the low revs and the torque, but looking at the you know, the power of the car, the horsepower, as you can see from the graph, it is so nice and smooth. Now, normally you don't actually see that a lot of the times. Normally you do need remaps, you know, and other mods to sort of make sure that it is a nice smooth power curve. So I'm really happy to see that, because I think actually it does prove what I've seen or feel with this car, is that it feels really nice lineal power to drive. And that's one of the things I love about this engine is, yes, it is not a fast engine. I mean, look, I'm not going to boast that I've only got 148 horsepower and 100 and whatever foot-pounds of torque. It's not about that for me, but I've done this as a bit of research. So I've gone out, got the dyno done, obviously for my own knowledge, but also for everyone watching and subscribe to the channel. You know, you might have interest in knowing what mods actually give power. So when I am going to do a full exhaust on this car, you know what the car was producing now. And then when I've had a full exhaust fitted, then I'll get it tested again, see what the difference is. Then if I get a Fusion Fabrications inlet, you know, see what it is with a custom remap. You'll get to see a story of actually what you can get with those mods. So apologies, I've probably talked a lot. I've tried to keep it as fast as possible with everything I wanted to get off my head, but I'm pleased I've done it. It's interesting to see. Hopefully you found, you know, interesting to know as well, and you know what I am actually going to do going forward with the car, and revealing what the mods and performance will do to it. So thanks all for watching and sticking with me. If you have listened to all of this video, I'm sure you haven't, I don't blame you if you haven't, but really appreciate if you have. As always, really appreciate a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, you know, get to see what difference and performance mods I'm going to start doing to this car, and seeing, you know, if you are interested in figures, seeing what horsepower and torque that I can get from it. And as always, comments, always really appreciate them. So thanks all for watching, have a good day, bye.